The grand chandelier glittered above the millionaire's dining hall, casting long shadows across the marble floor. The air was thick with arrogance as Mr. Harrison, a man of unimaginable wealth, smirked at his staff. Standing quietly in the corner was Clara, the black maid who had served his mansion for years. Beside her, clutching an old, worn-out notebook, was her young son Daniel. His eyes, sharp, curious, alive, studied every detail around him. The millionaire leaned back in his golden chair, sipping his wine with a mocking smile. "Tell me, Clara, does your boy know anything besides sweeping floors and running errands?" His laughter echoed across the hall, making the servants uneasy. Clara's face burned with silent shame. But before she could answer, Mr. Harrison snapped his fingers. A servant wheeled in a polished chessboard, the ivory and ebony pieces gleaming under the light. "Why don't we test him?" the millionaire said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "I promise it will be fun." Gasps filled the room. The staff exchanged nervous glances. Clara's heart pounded. She wanted to protect her son from humiliation. But Daniel's lips curled into a faintest smile. He stepped forward, his tiny hand brushing across the cold marble of the table. He didn't flinch. He didn't hesitate. His eyes locked with the millionaire's, not with fear, but with quiet confidence. The millionaire chuckled darkly. "This should be entertaining," he muttered. "A maid's son playing against me, the man who has beaten city champions." The first piece moved. The match had begun. And no one in that room, not even the arrogant millionaire, was prepared for what would happen next.
The first moves were simple. Mr. Harrison pushed a pawn forward, his smirk never fading. Daniel mirrored his move calmly, his small fingers steady on the polished chess piece. The staff whispered among themselves, some shaking their heads in pity. "The poor boy will be embarrassed," one muttered. But then, Daniel's eyes sharpened. He moved his knight, not randomly, but with precision, setting a trap only a trained player could see. Mr. Harrison laughed. "Lucky move," he scoffed. He countered quickly, eager to crush the child's spirit. Clara clutched her apron tightly. She wanted to stop the game, but Daniel didn't look afraid. He looked excited. The game unfolded. Daniel sacrificed a pawn, then another. The onlookers winced, thinking he was losing. But Daniel's mind was 3 steps ahead. Every loss was a setup. Every sacrifice was a trap. Soon, the millionaire's smirk began to fade. His confident hands trembled as his queen was cornered. The hall fell silent. No one dared to breathe. Mr. Harrison leaned closer, sweat forming on his forehead. Daniel tilted his head and whispered softly, "Check." His voice was calm, steady, like a seasoned master. The millionaire's eyes widened. He hadn't seen it coming. The boy, this maid's son, was controlling the game. Clara's eyes welled with tears. She had always known her son was smart, but genius? Even she hadn't imagined this. The staff exchanged stunned glances. The boy wasn't just playing, he was dominating. Mr. Harrison tried to regain control. He played aggressively, slamming pieces on the board. But the harder he tried, the more Daniel unraveled his strategies. Daniel's small hands moved gracefully, as if every piece already knew where it belonged. 10 minutes into the match, the once arrogant millionaire was on the defensive. His empire of wealth and power meant nothing against a child's brilliance. "Who taught you this?" Mr. Harrison demanded, frustration breaking through his polished demeanor. Daniel glanced at his mother. "No one," he said softly. "I read books. In the library you never use." Gasps echoed again. The boy had been sneaking into the Millionaire's study, teaching himself from old chess manuals left to gather dust. Clara lowered her head, fearing punishment, but Mr. Harrison couldn't respond. His mind was too consumed with the battle on the board. And then, with one swift move, Daniel whispered again, this time louder, "Check, mate!" Silence. Pure, heavy silence filled the grand hall. Mr. Harrison stared at the board, disbelief in his eyes. His king was trapped, no escape, defeated by a child. The staff held their breath. Clara pressed her hand to her lips, tears falling freely. For the first time in years, the millionaire had no words. His pride was shattered, not by a rival, not by a businessman, but by a Maid's son. Slowly he stood. His eyes shifted from the board to Daniel. And then he did something no one expected. He clapped once, twice. Then with a small, humbled smile, he said, "Genius! Absolute genius!" Clara froze, confused. The staff exchanged astonished looks. The arrogant man was praising someone? Mr. Harrison turned to Clara. "Why didn't you tell me your boy was extraordinary?" Clara's voice trembled. Because who would believe me, sir?" The millionaire's gaze softened. For once, there was no mockery in his eyes, only respect. Days later, Daniel's life changed forever. Mr. Harrison personally arranged for the best tutors, the finest education, and entry into national chess tournaments. What began as a cruel joke had turned into a doorway, a chance for a better future. Clara continued her work, but with pride in her heart. Her son was no longer just the maid's boy. He was a child genius, recognized by a man who once mocked him. And Mr. Harrison? He too was changed. His arrogance had cracked. For the first time in his life, he understood that brilliance, talent, and dignity could rise from anywhere, even from the most humble of places. The mansion was no longer the same. The servants carried hope in their hearts. Clara walked taller. And Daniel sat at the chessboard, dreaming not just of winning games, but of winning a future his mother never thought possible. The story ends not with checkmate on the board, but checkmate on pride. Because sometimes the smallest hands can move the biggest pieces and change the game forever.